Welcome to Podtendo's Top 10 list. Listen to the show, we'll explain it. I can't explain it during the opening. Enjoy! Hey guys, welcome to Podtendo, where we're doing a top 10 list this year. And a little bit of a disclaimer, we're actually filming this, or recording this, after the fact. We didn't really kind of do much of an introduction for this episode on comic books. So this is our top 10 comic book characters. And I just wanted to give a little bit more of kind of the parameters of where we're coming from, where our decisions, kind of where we're talking about, right? Because some of the things we jump into, and I think even at one point in the podcast today, I even say, I'm like, I don't really feel like I'm the strongest authority, and I feel a little more gun shy. Well, because I didn't really explain my position. So, sorry, I'm your co-host, Mick, and I'm joined by
Tyson.
Hi, welcome. So we're going to give you quick parameters before we get into the show proper, shall we? So for myself, I grew up in a world where Batman animated series, X-Men the cartoon, Spider-Man the animated TV series, Superman, Justice League, into the X-Men Evolutions, into the X-Men and the Wolverines, into animated Avengers movies that I would watch that kind of made me fall in love with. I owned and collected cards, and still to this day, from old Marvels and toys and video games, and I loved comic books. Comic book collectors, I had a couple comic books here and there as a child, but I never was the guy that went to the comic book shop all the time. I'm not buying comics, I'm not reading them. I have a couple collections, I have a couple things on an iPad, I have some PDF files, but really I'm kind of just that kid that grew up in a world where comic books were video games, trading cards, action figures, right? More so than the hardcore comic fan, and a lot of my opinions are going to be altered probably by movies, right? Really, the MCU was major part of the pop cultural landscape in the last, say, 10 years or something like that. The DCU is kind of, and all of those movies have kind of altered my views and opinions. So that's kind of my parameters for my list that I decided on today. So I just wanted to kind of get that out there before we got into it too hard. Tyson, what are your kind of parameters? You're a little bit of quick history of comic books.
Yeah, so like Mick, we're brothers. So grew up with the Batman animated series, X-Men, Spider-Man, fell in love with them. And I remember there was even some like Avengers movies, like back in the day, like there was an old Captain America one. Watched some Batman 69 when that was doing its reruns. Yeah. So I always have been a big fan of comics. I've never been a big reader. I've always kind of struggled with like reading books. I tend to be like, get to the point already. Mm-hmm. So from my reading, it was a lot of comics. I always kind of like just read comics. Sometimes it would be just like I'd pick up like random comics. I would kind of get gifted some comics because our uncle was big into comics, so I'd always like read his collection whenever we were visiting our Oma and Opa. So yeah, I've always been much more of a comic kid. Then I've never even then when I was living in Edmonton, I would go to my comic book store regularly. I'd have my pull list, and I'd make sure that make sure you can get me all these, and I'd be frustrated with it sometimes because even if I had a reserve, sometimes they'd be short printed and then I wouldn't be able to get them, or maybe there's the 50 people that would come in for X-Men comics, I'd be number 51, so if they only got 50 I wouldn't get one. So there's times where I'd have gaps in it, so it gets frustrating. But I'm whenever I see a big old collection on Humble Bundle, I always just grab them. So I think I have a huge Spawn collection. I got a big Hellboy collection. I got a big X-Men collection. I got a big Superman, Batman, Supergirl, Harley Quinn. A bunch of I've been collecting a lot of Sonic stuff lately, so I got a bit of a Sonic collection that's starting. I've always just kind of been more of a comic kid when it comes to those things. I mean, obviously I'm not an expert on things. If there was a big landmark event, I've tried to read it, but it's hard. There's just so much to it. So and trying to pick up the individual issues sucks. I think our big complaint that we say in the recording was comic books were this, it's hard to even just follow the story, because let's say there's an issue with Daredevil, and then the next story gets picked up in a Spider-Man or something, and it just it's spread across the way, so you have to grab all the active comics, and it's frustrating. So I'm a big fan of graphic novels or any of the collections that kind of come out. And I remember one of the first comics that I've always been like recommending to people. So I've had, my girlfriends in the past or whatever, like, why do you like comics? And you're like, here, read The Watchmen, read V for Vendetta, like read these. It's not just like superheroes and like stuff. It's not your Batman. It's not your Superman's. Like, comics can be a very interesting way of telling a story. Obviously the art is a big draw for me. I love art. So, and even draw a little bit, but yeah, so I've tried to watch most of them. It's funny. I collect a lot of Marvel comics and stuff, but I'm not really a big Marvel guy. Same thing with like I collect a lot of DC stuff, but I wouldn't say that I'm a DC fan. I'm like I'm a generic. Like I like comics. Like if it's a good comic, I'll read it. If it not, I'll probably just skip it. So
yeah, that's fair. No, and that's a good point. Like Tyson, it's an artist, actually. He did the artwork for our show, too, right? So the title cards popping up on your pod players, that's all Tyson right there. So you can kind of see his influence, and he's carried on with that passion. I just thought that was important to kind of get out there before we get into the show proper, because we have never talked about that. And again, this is your first time ever listening to a podcast. Maybe you see top 10 lists and you start jumping into them and we're just like diving and you're like, are we supposed to know you guys as characters? No, of course not. We should introduce ourselves a little bit better. So I wanted to throw that up off the top, and then we'll get into the show proper here and see how we stumble our way through. And you'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I understand a lot more of your choices. Cool. Thanks for that backstory. Appreciate it. Bye guys.
Absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So we'll get into that show. Yeah. Hey guys, welcome to Podtendo's top 10 list. So in honor, just because the intro music was terrible, in honor of our 10th year, we're doing 10 top 10 lists. So we're doing our top 10 lists this year. I am your co-host, Mick. I'm joined by
Tyson.
Cool. Sweet. And what are we doing today? Nothing related to video games at all. Whereas we're Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast. We talk about video games. So what do you get today? Top 10 comic book characters. That's relevant.
Yeah, well, I feel like we like some comics. We like some like superheroes and stuff. So it's like, you know what? Let's make a list.
Yeah,
Let's make a list.
I always figured that video games and like nerd culture and pop culture and like Marvel cards and your video games, they kind of went together. They were on the same shelf in your childhood, at least in my mind. So they kind of went side by side. We did look at all the X-Men comics, right? We talked about I guess if Podtendo is a retrospective on Mick and Tyson's childhood, which is kind of quintessentially sort of what it is, and that's how they describe it. We watched all the X-Men movies because the X-Men are important to us. Well, comic book characters are important to us. So hence, this is why we're doing this. And I don't know, there wasn't that many video game consoles. At a certain point, my top 3 or top 10 PS3 games was going to be pretty light.
Yeah, and we're not doing like, here's an Atari Lynx top 10. Like we'd be reaching. So we're like, let's just throw comic book characters in. It fits our theme, fits what we do, and it fits what we like. It's our list, so we can do what we want about it.
And this is probably one of those ones where like the other lists, you're like, well, technically Zelda 2 maybe isn't the best NES game, or like, I don't know if you really should have included Dr. Mario as one of the best NES games, considering the Super Nintendo counter, like whatever arguments you make. This is the first one where maybe it's a little bit more controversial, where we're going to sit there and people are going to be like, really? That is your person? You left this person? So, big disclaimer off the top. These are just our opinions. My video games, the last 2 shows, I kind of prefaced that I was like, fun factor was a big part of this. But comic book characters, like, there's not really a fun factor. There isn't really a... So I'm not sure exactly what criteria I used. I think it's just kind of like more personal preference. 10 characters I would like to talk about. Bro, give me a pretty basic list on my part, because I'm a pretty basic comic fan.
That's fair. I had a hard time keeping it short, so I kind of expanded, and I have a massive honorable mentions list. And it's like, the honorable mentions are mostly people that are like, they probably shouldn't be in a top 10, but I like them, so here they are. Okay. And my top 10 list is more of like, yeah, they're kind of important. And then there's like a mix of a character or two from every franchise that I think is important. So,
okay, nice.
Or a character that it's like, I think is extremely popular.
Yeah.
Maybe not like and has some significant value to comics.
Yeah, so we're already on list 3. Tyson's already indicated that he has some potential regrets on previous lists that have been published and sent out. And I said, yeah, top 10 comic books. So he sends me 20. And I'm like, you just don't understand the assignment, do you? Like,
I really don't.
Like, I'm grading your turn paper and I'm giving you just an F because I was like, no, you gotta be a little more concise here, sir. You doubled. Yeah. I asked for 10, not 20. So.
Well, and then I threw a Metal Gear Solid and a Batman instead of a Ninja Gaiden on my Nintendo list, and I was like, what am I thinking some days? Like, truly, I don't even know what I am thinking. But here I am, spouting stuff that I think might be interesting to talk about. So
I have notes. I have like all the notes just on my phone. So once in a while when I'm bored, I'll go in and like tinker and change stuff. So it's like ever evolving. Again, these could change day to day. At the end of the year, gun to my head, like remake these lists exactly, or I'm gonna shoot you. We'd have a dark, contented show that day. Let's put it that way. So I don't know why we're recording this. Probably should be on like YouTube Live. Man gets shot because he doesn't know top 10 list. Cool, sick.
He doesn't know his own top 10 list.
So let's not we're not going to kill ourselves. Hopefully the audience does not kill us as we go through our top 10 list. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to go reverse orders of 10 to 1, because 1 to 10 is just it's nonsense. That's the most ridiculous thing. Maybe we'll do it on one show. We'll pick a bad show. Maybe like our Wii games or something. We're like...
Or like Sega, just because by the end of it we're like, what's another Sega game?
Comic Zone. There you go. Comic Zone made it. So with that, so we're going to, again, 10 to 1. And maybe do an honorable mention kind of right before we get to 1. We'll talk about a character the second time they appear on a list. So we'll run through our list, and I think it's worked so far. They're a little confusing. Top 10 lists, definitely not the best podcast material. Really, it's just us talking about 10 things. The order is less important, I suppose. The fact they made the list, that's really the important thing, which we should focus on. So starting at number 10. I have a character. I've got to scroll up because you got a lot of text going on here. Oh, baby. Number 10. We both have different characters, but my character shows up higher on your list, so I will start. And at number 10, I have Bruce Banner, a.k.a. the Incredible Hulk.
Yep. And in my 10 slot, I have Michelangelo, who does not appear on your list, so we can kind of talk about him.
The painter?
Yes. Okay. He's in a very old comic. You gotta dig into the archives for that one. No, obviously Michelangelo the turtle. I wanted the turtle on here. I feel like Michelangelo's the most popular. I'd love to throw Raphael here, but I was like, I just feel like Michelangelo is more popular. And spoilers, if anyone hasn't read The Last Ronin yet, do yourself a favor and go out and read it. Maybe there's a reason why Michelangelo's on this list and not everybody else. So,
okay, interesting. Yeah, in terms of Ninja Turtles, I never really considered them. I think we were going to do Saturday morning cartoons at some point, so maybe I'll like throw them in at that point, right? So I was kind of thinking just more of like pen to paper. I mean, I probably just have Marvel characters, so I didn't really step outside of that. I think maybe one DC guy. That's it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm like, looking at your list, I see mostly Marvel and 2 DC.
I have 2 DC?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. Huh. 2 DC. Yeah. Sick. Cool. All right. So essentially, I did not think about the Ninja Turtles, but Tyson, it's a good point. They did come essentially from the comics. I think they continue to be in comics up until this day, right? Through various examples. I'm shocked. I'll be honest with you. I think Raphael, maybe Leonardo, but over Michelangelo. So he must have had some type of resurgent recently. Is he the most popular?
I'll just read The Last Ronin.
Okay.
Just read The Last Ronin. It's very good. It's essentially a...
Is it just a retelling of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, the Turtles in Time movie? Because you're right, Michelangelo was the most impactful. His relationship with Yoshi was really... Oh, no, that was Leonardo. Oh, no. And then randomly Raphael.
Yeah, but not Donatello. He was off making terrible pizzas with that one guy.
Yeah, and then they made like a scepter in a blacksmith forge, and I was like, that's amazing. That's impressive. Okay, cool. Number 9. Who do you have at number 9?
I have Jean Grey, who does not appear on your list.
Nope.
I wanted an X-Men on here. I feel like she's the most impactful character. She's super powerful. Okay. She's one of the originals. It was kind of debate between her and Cyclops, but I gave it to her because like... she was like the cartoon didn't do her a lot of favors because she would do something and then faint. But I think Jean Grey / the Phoenix is the X-Men storyline.
Yeah, that's fair. She was very quintessential, iconic in terms of just like X-Men lore. If you were gonna throw someone on here and you wanted to like biggest impact, she probably does have like the most relevance in stories, and she does cool stuff. I do love the shout out to Cyclops. That's a great pull as well. I have two X-Men. Neither of them are Jean Grey or Cyclops, so that's cool.
Yep.
Yeah, but I can definitely see just her appearance of. Well, I mean, the Dark Phoenix or the Phoenix made at least 2 movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's appeared in the comic or in the cartoon show twice, right? You get regular Phoenix Saga and the Dark Phoenix Saga. You get the resurgence of like Madeline Pryor and the whole storyline that just happened in X-Men 97 last year, right? So yeah, Jean Grey is very impactful, cool, very important key cog in the any story, any X-Men kind of narrative. So I respect that pick. For myself, number 9, I also picked an X-Man, and I picked my boy Wolverine. Definitely oversaturated. If anything, he's lower on this list just now, just because of it kind of feels like Wolverine is uber popular. Like he is probably a top, just pound for pound, most popular comic book character. Is he a top 4?
Maybe.
Right? Spider-Man,
Maybe.
Batman, Superman, Wolverine. Like, if you're going to say just like most popular pound for pound, he appears in kind of every iteration of an X-Men story. He's always part of the team. He has his own independent runs. He had a series of movies based upon him. Right now, if you're going to say, well, the Hugh Jackman effect and the oversaturation of him just in kind of pop culture has degraded his importance a little bit. But I look back and just kind of any story, he's kind of a key component. He is a integral member of any X-Men team, right? You look back at the last, like, X-Men 97 was a little bit later on Wolverine, but the previous series that came up before that was literally called Wolverine and the X-Men, right? Probably based on the popularity of the Hugh Jackman films and kind of his impact and just how he kind of helped bring the pop culture or comic books a bit more into like the general pop culture, right? So, but his importance needs to be stated. And a top 10 list that didn't include Wolverine would not be any top 10 list at all. So I had to throw him on the list.
That's fair. That's fair. I'm gonna. I have him on my list a little higher up, so I'm gonna share my thoughts a little later.
No, I didn't see him.
Yep. Well, it's funny if you look at my yeah.
Well, why didn't you say something?
Because you're on a rant. It's fine. It's just a random thing. So just I'll talk my thoughts on Wolverine, but it's gonna echo a lot of your sentiments too. Like definitely oversaturated. I love that Marvel actually pulled back from it and they actually let him be dead for a while and then they brought him back, which is unlike certain other characters higher up on my list where like funny. They're just like, no, we're just gonna keep saturating this market. So I feel like Wolverine's kind of he deserves this spot. So
okay, cool. Well, that's God damn it, son of a. Well, I screwed it up.
That's all good. Well, I'm gonna throw a wrench in the next one.
Right.
Let's move on to number 8. I picked Sonic.
I see Sonic, yeah.
And the reason is like I grew up reading those terrible Archie comics.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still kind of making comics with IDW. It's a pretty neat little arc. I think like the Sonic comics are absolutely bonkers, but I love them. And I just have such nostalgic goggles to them. Like the stories are terrible. I actually have been reading them recently online, and I have a blast with them. I think that these comics are super underrated. They're absolutely madness, but it's good time. It's a good time. So if you like Sonic, and I feel like some kids even knew Sonic as a character from the cartoon and the comic books and not even the video games, because video games were kind of expensive, but like the $1 Archie comics at the grocery store that everyone saw, like I'm sure like if you went through all the covers, you'd be like, I remember seeing this once. It's just it's a fun little dive into. So that's why I got Sonic at number 8.
I'm gonna blame the way you put these dumb lists in this page is what screwed me up, but I'm not over it.
It was a bad copy and paste. I'll see if I can I edit this and make it so it's
it's fine. I have it set up now that I can like look at your list and see my list. I just pulled up my note on my phone, so I'm okay now. I'm good. But it was just my initial setup of scrolling back and forth. Rookie mistake, guys. I apologize. Number 8. Sonic is. I could see that. I understand that his impact in and just perseverance through culture. Of no fault of no fault of the video games. Like, when was the last time a good Sonic video game was made outside of Sonic Mania? Obviously, like Sonic and Knuckles, and then it was just poop. He just made terrible games. Like every Sonic game that came out, you're like, Sonic Generations. It's awful. It's terrible. Oh, Sonic Heroes. No, that one was also bad. Sonic 06. Just the worst. The worst. But he was everywhere. People love Sonic. There's green Sonics. There's white
definitely
Sonics.
A joke for a long time. But he was just like, he was a running joke of a character. Like, oh yeah, Sonic's a fun character, but the video games suck.
Oh.
You know, like, but he's a video game character. And it's like, yep.
And
like, I know people will like try to like justify Sonic Adventure as a good game, but it's like, no, if this game was good, the Dreamcast wouldn't have died. It's like trying to do a lot of things and it's ambitious, but man, is it janky when you even just like
when there's no continuity and they just jump around. Like I had Sonic, it was like Sonic Forces or something.
Yeah.
And like that was okay, but like had it not been a free game on my like PSN, I probably wouldn't have kept playing. Like you know what I mean? So the fact that Sonic has persisted and has just stuck around and now is like he has a hit movie franchise, right? They're more popular. No.
Zelda they're fine movies.
Zelda will definitely kick his ass like once he comes out. But like in terms of video game movies, like the fact you have three, you have
I really look forward to. Sorry, go on.
You have like Jim Carrey coming out of basically what is considered retirement, right? From entertainment to do the Robotnik to come back to the series again and again. Obviously, he's having fun with it. People seem like they like it. They make money. It has to be some noteworthy, and including him on a list of just top comic book characters because that's how he has to keep living, right? If you look into the mythologies, I see these pictures of like Sonic, and there's a white Sonic, and there's a black Sonic, and there's a pink Sonic, and a green Sonic, and the Sonic has a punk hairstyle, and I'm sure they all have little stories and are unique, and I'm like, where is this coming from? Obviously, it has to be that's the strong backing of the comic book line, right? So him being included, I definitely understand that, feel that. At number 8, I have unless you had something else to say.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, on to your number 8.
Okay, cool. At my number 8, I have the Joker. In terms of just classic villains, right? Guys that have kind of transcended, continue to adapt, evolve. Batman's greatest foe, the Joker. And he made my number 8. Whether it was his appearances in, oh gosh, think of how many like movie appearances. How many Jokers have we had on the big screen now?
Quite a few.
2, 3, 4. They change it. They recycle it. They always have to have someone else, right? He's just kind of persistent in pop culture, and he's kind of an interesting character. Most of Batman's best stories, right, revolve around the Joker. If you think about even like spin-off series like the Batman Beyonds, it doesn't really get great or good until you get the return of the Joker, right? So the kind of the foil to the ultimate paragon of good is the paragon of evil, right? The Joker character that's kind of always been persistent in Batman's thorn in his side, and that's why I wanted to give him credit at number 8.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Great character. He's on my honorable mentions. I think that he's a very fascinating character. He's the reason why some Batman stories are so good. I think he's the reason why the Dark Knight's so good. Because like number 1 and number 3 are like they're good, but I'm like they're not great. And I think the Dark Knight's just great because like the dynamic between like the absolute chaos that is the Joker and Batman, who's just like the like epitome of order and law and order and everything. It's like I think it's just like a great balance, and it just works so well. And Batman has a huge, amazing rogues gallery, but the Joker just stands head above everybody else, right?
Sweet. Yeah, cool. How about number 7? Who do you have at 7?
I have Spawn, another random character and Image comic character. I like Todd McFarlane. I think he's a really interesting dude. I reread like almost all the Spawn comics recently. Being a 90s kid, that we all thought the Spawn movie was excellent. Now we can watch it and laugh and how terrible and awful it is. But I think he's a fascinating character. Like he's the longest independent character to like have a comic series. Like I think he's at like 500 or some crazy thing now, and they're just adding to it. But because like, sure, there's Supermans and Spider-Mans and the Batmans and everyone else in the world, they keep resetting the numbers. Spawn never reset the numbers, so they just keep building onto it. And there's some stories where like he's met God, he's met the devil, he's met other devils. There's other Spawn spinoffs. So I think it's really cool what they've done with it. I'm super like it's truly admirable, and I love it so much. So I have a soft spot for Spawn, which is why he sits at my number 7.
Yeah, I think the Spawn Origins comic, right, where he comes out and he's this warrior for the devil, he's this demonic knight that has to come out, and he has these abilities, and he had what was called like a spawn meter or something. It was this green meter at the top of every page, or kind of felt carried on throughout the comic book, and as he used certain powers, he would like deplete the meter, and then once it was gone, he was dead. And that was supposed to be like definitive. That was the story. It was never going to recharge, and like once this meter fills down, it was going to be super dramatic. It was going to be over. Now, money exists, and capitalism is a very great thing. If you've never heard of it, I highly recommend checking it out, because now I'm pretty sure somehow it got replenished, and now it's not a thing. And it kind of diminished kind of initially what that initial run was supposed to be, and kind of just the impact of those movements, right? Because as you're reading the story, you see your character as he's doing heroic things, and he's dying, and you're losing him, and you're like watching literally a countdown as you're flipping through the pages of these comics. And that's amazing. That's cool. That's awesome. And then money, capitalism shows up, and he's saved, and he's healed. Huzzah! Right. So I definitely, I don't know. And maybe you're like, I know it's a cool world, and they just wanted to keep rolling in it for reasons. Cool. Awesome. For myself, I'd look at Spawn and be like, it was a cool initial concept, but I don't know. One of those things that like, did it need to keep going after a certain point? Maybe. I'm sure fans of the series be like, oh no, absolutely, you're wrong. But outsiders stepping in, looking at it, I'm like, okay, cool.
I feel like if you're a 90s kid, you kind of have a soft spot for him, but everybody else is like, what's the appeal?
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Myself at number 7, I have the king of... Well, no, I don't... Is he a king? I don't think he is a king. I think he's just a guy. I think he's just a prince. The Norwegian-based Thor. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yep. I don't have him on my list honorable mentions list, unfortunately.
Thor is he's kind of a stupid character, honestly. Like, if we would have done this list 20 years ago, including Thor, oh man, super niche. I've been like, I just love. Oh no, I'm not gonna be able to pull his name in time. Damn it. Vincent D'Onofrio's interpretation of Thor and Adventures of Babysitting is the greatest portrayal of Thor. I don't know. I was like,
like that's about the level of exposure I had to Thor kind of growing up.
The little girl from Adventures of Babysitting, and then Vincent D'Onofrio stepping on stage, and you're like, hey buddy, you done some bicep curls lately? Good for you. Good job.
Yeah. Like the 80s where steroid use was almost mandatory.
Yeah. Well done. Right. But in terms of more recent stories, kind of even the 2000s, Thor became kind of a bit more of an interesting character. And then just, I think, as you watch the MCU films evolve and grow, he became kind of a stupid tertiary character that was just sexy Chris Hemsworth Chris Hemsworth happens to be one of those charismatic people in the world, and he turned Thor into this big, lovable, goofy, joke-wielding character you saw in like Thor Ragnarok, right? As mentioned as one of the best movies, because basically they carry just Chris Hemsworth's charisma. So essentially, Chris Hemsworth, your portrayal and your beauty and your charisma has landed Thor as number 7 on my list in terms of comic book characters.
Totally. I mean, I think before like this modern revision of this one is like the Chris Hemsworth like comedic timing is just so priceless. Mm-hmm. Like there's so many times where I just like see some of those stories where like the whole joke he tells about like Loki turning into a snake. I still laugh at that stupid line. Like that's not a great line, but at the same time it's so funny the way he delivers it. Like it's just comedic gold. I was really tempted to put him on my list, but like I got to 20 and I was like, I gotta cut this at some point.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
nice, sweet, cool. Number 6. Who do you have at number 6?
I got Harley Quinn. I really like her as a character. This may just be like I like you, so here you are. You're making this list. Mostly that's my honorable mentions list, but I think Harley Quinn is she's great. She's fun. She went from kind of this like Joker's sidekick to kind of her own world. She has her own cartoon now, which is great. A lot of her comics are honestly only like they're the most readable like modern comics, because DC's kind of doing weird things right now and has been for the last like 5 to 7 years. But I like her. I think she originally got birthed out of the animated series.
Yeah.
And then just basically because she was so popular and interesting, everybody loved her so much. She is now like, she headlines movies. And I know some people don't love her movies. I find them fascinating.
Oh my
Margot
God.
Robbie is a great actress. I think that she's funny, and I enjoy them. I enjoy them a lot, which is why she's at number 6.
Birds of Prey was the worst like 27 minutes of my life, and I just was like, I can't do this. But outside of that, whatever that was, oh gosh, no, I could definitely understand Harley Quinn being probably on this list at 6. Yeah, in terms of just overall popularity and growth, and kind of a very humble origin of showing up, just kind of being the girl that stood next to Joker, right? I do think that society, that culture, that comic book fandom needs a love of the Joker, the agent of chaos. And I could see that there being a bit of an saturation, right? After the Heath Ledger performance, that was one of those things. It's like, oh, Joker was perfected. We never have to do Joker ever again, but you keep pushing him out because he makes money. We kind of get used to it. And Harley Quinn I feel like she kind of took over filled that void, especially in the pop culture fan base we're seeing with her cartoon, right? Her impact on the comics, her impact on just pop culture. Like, the fact that she has a movie and it says Harley Quinn on it, on the marquee, and it sells tickets and it made a profit, that's huge, right? That's an understated, independent of quality of the movie, whether you liked it or not. The fact that she carried her own movie is huge, especially as a female comic book character. Oh my gosh. What other female comic book characters even come close to a movie? Well,
Yeah,
right.
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, but like,
But that franchise quickly died, where it's like, I think like you look at the DCEU, and like the expanded universe basically was like, well, we don't have a good, like, Superman movies were like, what the hell's going on? We don't have a Batman right now. And Wonder Woman, first one was good,
but I think
they just didn't know what to do with it. So it's like, who has the mantle right now? Is it literally just like DC Harley Quinn? That's kind of what the movies were at that point. Like, if it didn't have her in it, like, kind of sucked.
yeah, I mean, I also love me some Lady Gaga. I haven't watched the second Joker movie, but like, there's a part of me that kind of almost wants to just watch it because she's a great singer and performer, and just watching her sing, even if it's a shitty song, I'm like, how bad could it be? So I kind of almost want to give Harley Quinn or the Joker 2 a chance, just essentially for Lady Gaga's portrayal of Harley Quinn, to see like, oh, what kind of weirdness because like, they're both kind of fucking weird, right? Like, they're not supposed to be the
100%.
pretty, gorgeous, drop dead model of the Margot Robbie. You're supposed to be kind of like the weird, obscure, bizarre, chaos filled Lady Gaga, right? So going out and watching that's definitely on the bucket list. And I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe today. Let's see what happens, right? So no, the fact that she made your list, it's a no-brainer, right? Just her in terms of cultural impact nowadays, today, to sit here and say that you have a list without her, she probably was like right behind the Joker, in my opinion. A bit more of a purist when it comes to comics, and I'm not up with like modern takes and stuff like that, so that's probably why I went Joker over Harley Quinn. But like,
Also, you weren't like you said, you don't really like the movie renditions. Like, you didn't like Birds of Prey.
oh god, like that was a turnoff. I was like, I will never ever watch any Harley Quinn animated series because this movie was awful. Like, it's just one of those things. I'm like, I have no interest in that. So again, that, but like, probably close in my mind. So yeah, no, right there, that's a good pick on your part. Cool. For myself at number 6, unless you have something else to say.
No, keep going. Okay. It's all you.
Number 6, I have Captain America. So came with his own song in his first movie. In terms of impact character, I don't know. I kind of feel like there was always like the Iron Man. Iron Man was probably the most popular MCU character, and as a hipster, as I have to be, I had to pick my boy Captain America. And I always enjoyed the fact that he doesn't have like special powers per se. He's just essentially a peak person. He's this perfect peak paragon person, which seems incredibly boring. He was rah rah America, government is right. Until you get to the Civil War storyline, which is one of my favorite comic book storylines in the last, well, kind of ever, right? If we're doing top comic book storylines, that one's probably up there in terms of what it brings, and just his decision to be against some type of registration, some type of superhero registration act, and fight and kind of become more of a rebel. I thought that added a lot more depth, brevity, interest to the character. The way he was portrayed through the MCU, he kind of became this like paragon for good, right? He kind of fought for what was right, or at least what he was considered right, and he got a bit more gray. That put on my list. Essentially, that's why he made my number 6.
No, that's fair. I think he's a great character. Like, I mean, he's such a symbol of good in the Marvel universe, and like he's the reason why a lot of the Avengers stuff, like Robert Downey Jr. needs Chris Evans to bounce off it when they aren't together. It feels weird because they just have such good charisma and they work so well together because they're kind of like they're going for the same thing but they're doing it in different ways. And I've always kind of loved Captain America. He's not on my list, but he's on my not honorable mention list because he's super important. I've never really gotten into them. I seem to be like, oh no, I bet you it's good, and I watch them like, yeah, it's good, but it's never something I've been kind of hardcore into. So he just kind of just misses my top 10.
And the reason I put him at 6, right? So I kind of have my top 5, which I think are like my favorite or the best, and I would go to bat that I'm like, no, these ones are the most important. Captain America not making this list just based on the fact that Iron Man and Captain America were the 2 main characters of Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, which is potentially, you could argue, is one of the greatest cinematic events of our lifetime. The fact that they built 20 movies to these 2 giant, massive movie events that I hold up, go sit down and watch them, and you're like, fuck, they're good. God damn it, they're good. So much better. And then you hear the new ones that come out, and you're like, what did you miss? What happened? And you get kind of just really the whole story about 2 of the biggest movies ever that happen to be about comic books. Stupid little pieces of paper that we used to buy for 25 cents in the grocery stores. And you have to include one of the characters, right? So I think Captain America, from my mind, you put Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man, in that spot, I could say, sure. Right, so it's kind of one of those could have been either one. I didn't want to do both because I thought that would be redundant. And Captain America spoke to me, and I definitely think the quality of, say, even his movies. Now I know I'm getting away from kind of comic book lore a little bit, but I think you just get a bit more interest and a bit more intrigue and a bit more going on with the Captain America, right? Pound for pound. And, cool. Top 5.
Top 5.
Cool. Who do you have at number 5?
At number 5, I got the Hulk.
Sick.
This is the highest rated Avenger on my list. I think the Hulk's a really cool character. He's fascinating. He's a smart guy that gets everybody knows the story, but he's super, and he's a fun character to watch. He's always he can either be absolutely terrifying or you can be like, hell yeah, I'm so stoked he's on our side. And I think he even has a timeless thing where the older generation can identify with the Hulk, and even the younger generation. I know a lot of kids, the kids love Hulk. They think he's just the funnest thing. He's so funny and he's powerful, and Hulk smash has been around for a very long time. It's a dumb Hulk smash. It's that's it, in theory it's just dumb, but it just works so well because he's such a likable character and everybody just gets it. You just connect with the character and you get it.
It's simplicity, and the beauty of the Incredible Hulk is just how simple it is. It's just rage, man's rage. Very simple. It's a thing you comment some people deal with all the time, depending if you're you have a hot temper, or you're you get angry a lot. You can reflect and be like, oh yeah, those times I get angry and I become a different person and I'm not myself, right? It's just such a simple, clean, beautiful Jekyll and Hyde story, essentially, right? And what if your other self was the most powerful, indestructible creature in the world, right? You can't do anything about it, right? It is the wild card. He's kind of the nuclear weapon, right? And when deployed properly, right? That's my secret captain. I'm always angry. And he punches that big space dragon thing and you're like, oh my God, the Hulk is so fucking bad. So that's the best thing ever, right? He has these big giant moments, but he doesn't ever have to have the story coming with him, right? Because his story is just quaint and essential, and you don't need to do a lot. Why is Bruce Banner so challenged and kind of conflicted? It's because he's just dealing with just the ultimate form of rage, of road rage, whatever kind of you want to say it is, right? He's just kind of that ultimate example, and it's just such a simple, easy, clean a narrative you can tell with him, right? So yeah, I agree. He definitely belongs to be on a top 10 list, and I agree with your number 5. Who do you have at number 4?
You got to give me your number 5.
Oh, I do. Who do I have at number 5? Oh, I have Spider-Man.
Yep.
Cool. All right.
Yep.
I think
he's on my list, so we ain't talking about him quite yet.
okay. Well, who do you have at number 4? I'm very interested to hear.
I have Wolverine.
What? I have no idea.
Wolverine, he's the biggest X-Men. Hugh Jackman. Nick already kind of went off on him. He's like, he's super important. Like, he's the reason he got so big and popular because everybody just loved him and thought he was like the best. And a lot of his stories just are the best. Like Old Man Logan.
Oh yeah,
it's a fascinating comic. So good. Again,
Logan,
Wolverine, Hulk, right there. It's like, yeah, and Old Man Logan, or like Logan. It's just like, man, it's such a. Mm-hmm. And Hugh Jackman just essentially carried the entire X-Men franchise. So being an X-Men fan, I even as a kid, like, he was Canadian, so I loved him, and he's a shorter guy, and he's just like always like. He's got an attitude, and I just appreciate him. He's my favorite X-Men. So he's on my list.
Earlier when I skipped over and didn't notice Tyson because I was kind of scrolling back and forth, I was honestly shocked. I was like, I didn't see him anywhere on your list. That's bizarre. I was like, maybe you had a falling out because you like hated the Hugh Jackman movie so much, or he was like in Deadpool and Wolverine, and you're like, I'm done with this. Deadpool sucks. I hate Wolverine. I'm like, okay, cool. I guess. It wasn't that bad. Like, give him kind of a break. But yeah, no, he is just awesome. Great. I kind of already probably went off on him a little bit earlier. So just see those statements. Who do you have at number 3?
Who do you have at number 4, Mick?
Oh,
you didn't give me your number 4.
Like, have I never done this before ever? You know why? I'll be honest with you guys. I'm actually kind of nervous about talking about literally anything in this episode because I am not a encyclopedia of information. Sit down with an old video game, you can't beat me. I could tell you everything about a video game. I can talk to you for days. I'm the expert. I know what's up. But right now I'm like, I don't know. I watch obviously a lot of MCU movies.
Yep. Well, you don't buy comics regularly, but again, it's like not really like comic characters.
Yeah,
it's kind of what they represent in the
I know, but like I think
world.
that's also why I'm just a little bit off my game. Anyways, for myself, I have my last X-Man. Let me just double check. Yep, cool. I'm gonna pick my guy. He's always been my favorite, the little elf, Nightcrawler. He is. That's just a personal preference. Am I going to stand on the bat and say I think he was one of the best comic book characters ever? No, but to me, he's very important. I loved him using him in any old video games. I loved collecting his cards, his figures. I loved his appearance in the cartoons. I loved when he was in X-Men 97. I loved X-Men Evolution because it had Nightcrawler in it, right? Basically, anytime I can get my teeth into this character who quintessentially boils down to like my favorite character. Now, he's not reflected as one because I think there's other factors like cultural impact has to be felt and be sorted and organized and kind of talked about, right? But Nightcrawler, he's adorable. He's great. His design, as a kid, I used to draw pictures of him. I actually once won an art contest in grade 3 because I drew a picture of Nightcrawler, and I got credit because he was like such a unique design. And I'm like, well, no, I just like copied. I come up with it, but thanks. I'll take my blue medal and move on with my life. So
yeah. No, very cool character. I love me some Nightcrawler. He's one of like a great character to have on the team. He's good. He's got good like powers whenever you're playing him in the video games, and in the comics, he's honestly him and Wolverine are a good balance together. Like, he's the religious and like very like always trying to do the right thing, but at the same time like, man, he's nice to have on the team. Nothing beats a guy that can teleport everybody out of where they don't need to be immediately. Yeah. Like, he has saved the skin of the team more times than I can count. So
sweet. How about number 3? Top 3. Who do you have at number 3?
Ooh, I got Batman.
Cool. Sweet.
Yep. Won't talk about him quite yet.
Yep. I have him a step higher, and I'm actually, you know what? I'm going to audible. Right now, and I'm going to switch 1 and 3. Yeah, look at that. Boom. You didn't know that. My list changed. Number 3, I have my last X-Man. Oh, look at that. Weird. Magneto appears on my list at number 3. In terms of just...
Crazy. Yeah. Crazy. You're pulling audibles? What is this madness?
Well, I mean, just because I put something down, I can... until I audibly speak it, I mean, I can change it, right? So I'm just, as I'm sitting
100%.
here and I'm looking and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to drop him down. Magneto, number 3. I think in terms of Magneto's impact is going to be lost shortly because of just the way time works. In the character, he is a Holocaust survivor, right? He is this great nemesis to mankind because he felt the worst of humanity, right? He suffered atrocious atrocities that we can't fathom, right? Like just the horrors and stuff that happened to him as a child, as he has to go through the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. The impact is going to be lessened. It's going to be lost because at some point Holocaust survivors are just, they don't exist. They're dead. We're going to be far enough removed from this horrific event, which is good that we've been able to move past it and continue to kind of carry on, right? But we're losing what made Magneto just this kind of amazing character, right? Not only was he ambiguous in his powers, he was the master of magnetism. We're not really sure what that means, guys. Magnetism is like weird, does lots of stuff for us, kind of makes energy. I don't know, it's just,
It brings up like that meme, like magnets. How do they work?
yeah, basically. And he's the master of magnets. How do they work, right? But I think just in terms of cultural impact and importance, right? Those Michael Fassbender performances, the other guy that did him, what's his name? Ian McKellen. Cool. His performances, right, and just the impact that they had through those first X-Men movies, right? You go through and what's the best part of most of those films? Magneto, right? And I think just kind of what he brought to the table in terms of a weird historical impact, which is now going to be lost, right? I think going forward, and kids nowadays aren't going to really understand, and I don't think like the horrors of the Holocaust are taught to children as often. So I think you're going to lose a little bit of just like where he came from, and also his age is never going to make sense. You're now 100 and like years old,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But I thought I don't know, he's been incredible. He led most of the main impactful X-Men stories revolve around Magneto. He pops up as their main nemesis. He is the ultimate antithesis to the Xavier and kind of what the X-Men stand for, and it's just such a awesome gray character. He was never right, he was never wrong, he was just somewhere in the middle, and he was just trying to help himself because he was afraid of, essentially, humanity terrified him as a child, and he was fighting against the thing that he was afraid of most, right? This like awful horrific event. And yeah, like I said, I just shifted him. I did just make a shift, right? Because I think the impact is going to be lost going forward, right? And younger generations aren't going to really understand kind of the impact of what he brought and kind of what he represents. But I don't think that should be forgotten, and I wanted to celebrate that now. So yay, Magneto.
Yeah. He's super cool. He's not on my list, but like, yeah. Magneto was right all along. I've always kind of like been more of a Magneto guy than a Professor X kind of person, just like philosophy wise. And it's like, he's the perfect foil to the X-Men. Like he can take them all on. He's powerful enough, but he's also like, he's tragic enough where you're like, yeah, he's doing this out of pain and anger, not, and he's like, he's super relatable. And I think that, yeah, you like the whole Holocaust, every year that goes on, we're going to get further and further away from it. But I think like what he represents is always going to be truly relevant. And I love Magneto, the X-Men 97, like, man, what a performance. What an absolute, like, I love it. So it's so cool. I was very impressed. I was very, very impressed.
I just saw it back to X-Men 97, and we like ranked all of our mutants, and like X-Men, or Magneto was the top of the list, and he was the top of the list when we looked at all the movies, right? So I mean, the fact that I couldn't just discredit how important and impactful he is in those kind of events, which are relevant in comic book kind of culture, I couldn't do it, right? So that's why I went at number 3. How about at number 2? Who do you have?
I got Superman. I'm a big Superman guy. I didn't like him until a few years ago, and then like I didn't care for the Christopher Nolan movies, the Zack Snyder movies. I was like, yeah, whatever. I like Henry Cavill, but man, these Superman movies are kind of not very good. And then I kind of gave them a fair chance. I kind of dropped my baggage at the door, and I kind of just like try to enjoy them. And I got a lot of enjoyment on a rewatch. And And I think that a lot of people misunderstand Superman. He's like, oh, it's boring. He just wins every fight. He's super strong. He's the best at everything. He's the epitome of the kid on the playground. And be like, oh, no, I can stop time and I can do this. And
I have frost breath.
Yeah, and it's like the and kid or whatever. Like it's that's all those arguments are true. I just also love the philosophy of him. Like he can do all these things, but he always is trying to choose the best path forward as best he can. Sure, he doesn't make all the right calls, and I guess I understand him and what he's trying to represent. He's never going to be like fully appreciated, but at the same time, like he could essentially just go around stealing all the money and being the richest man in the world, but he doesn't. He just wants to be a reporter. Sure. Because he enjoys that, but he also like will always put the world first before himself. Like and if anyone's like never like liked Superman, give like All-Star Superman just a read. It's pretty short. It's not like the longest graphic novel, but it's worth it. Like I believe Grant Morrison wrote it. Like it's so good. It really is. It was the like I didn't like Superman. I read that and I kind of had this moment like, oh, I think I kind of get it now. And once you kind of get it, you get it. You get hooked. But if you don't get it, I totally understand because he's frustrating as like what's his flaw? A green rock. That's it. Yeah. Yep. It's like that sucks. Like as a weakness, that sucks. But I think his weakness is his heart and that he cares too much. Like he could like, and that's why I find like Invincible with Omni-Man so boring. Like oh he could be evil and he's super hard to defeat. Like that's so boring. Yeah. I like Superman because it's like he can do everything and people will still always hate him. And it's like I like that. Yeah, I like that.
That's cool. Maybe you bring up some good points. I'm more in the camp. I'm like Superman is kind of a boring character from a narrative point of view in my mind because he's just the best. Oh wow, huh. Right, and stories that just naturally set up a character to be too strong. Right, the new Star Wars movies. Rey beat Kylo Ren in the first movie. What's the conflict? Like, really, what's the point? Like, why are we watching these? Right, like that's silly. It's dumb. You can't beat the bad guy right away. You can't be the best at everything. That's boring. There is, you're right. Superman, the fact that he fights for good. He's not evil because he could just be the most evil, powerful guy ever, and no one would be able to stop him. Right? The fact he doesn't do that, the only narrative I ever saw of Superman that I was like, oh, that's an interesting point. And like, I'd love to see that done well. The new movies that are coming out, if they're done well, I give them a chance. I'm definitely not going to hate them. But when I go and watch Batman versus Superman and I get Martha, and I'm like, oh God, this is awful. Why did I waste my time with this? Like this, I hate this so much. It's terrible. Yeah,
I blame Zack Snyder on that one.
Oh.
Like, I've never watched a Zack Snyder movie and was like, what a good movie. I've always been like, God, I wasted my time again.
Oh, but it was a comic, or it was one of the cartoons, I believe. He's fighting Darkseid, and Flash is running around punching Darkseid, and then Darkseid just kind of grabs the Flash and kills him. And Superman snaps, and he stands up, and he was being defeated, and like he does this monologue. He's like, all my life, I've restrained myself. I've always been like, no, pull a punch. Don't hit as hard as you can because I don't want to hurt anyone because I could hurt anyone. And Darkseid, who's been like pumping Superman at this point, is now like punching him. And Superman's just standing there not taking it. And he's like, I don't have to restrain myself anymore with you. You've taken that restraint away. And he just destroys Darkseid. And I was like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome. That was amazing. So maybe there are moments out there and you watch enough of them, you're like, oh, I get it. I haven't taken the chance, but I would love to see a narrative that does Superman very well. He didn't make my list because I'm like,
doesn't do it for you, right?
I don't know if we've had the right people in place to tell me the narrative that gets me there, that I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. Awesome. Right. But if you're there, I'm like, I imagine there's probably one or two of those out there. And in terms of cultural impact, what is your kryptonite? What does that mean? Weakness. Wow, it's been synonymous. Okay, cool. Right, so, I mean, I understand him being high on a list because I mentioned it. Who were the top four? And I definitely... And I'd throw him out there. And in terms of popularity, Superman, if you're one of the top four most popular... Yeah, of course. I'm not going to discredit that. He's just not for me, right? So he wouldn't make my list. Who do you have at number 2, Mick? See, I was talking to myself this time. I didn't even forget. You thought I forgot. I'm not that stupid. I have Batman.
Yes. That's a solid choice. That's a solid choice.
He's your number 2, my number 3. Batman. Yeah. He is probably the second most popular comic book character out there.
Character
So,
of all time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great movies, tons of great, like, even the bad ones are still kind of good and entertaining, and he's got tons of iterations, and he's changed, and he's kind of moved with media very flawlessly. Whether he's a campy guy who dances and, like, in the 70s and has a stupid suit and hangs out with a boy who has, like, very tight shorts. I don't know, that seems odd, Robin. To, you know, the comic book, or to the animated series from the 90s that kind of, like, made every kid in the world a Batman fan, to the amazing Burton movies, to the amazing Nolan movies, right? To even you don't like Robert Pattinson, you probably watch that movie and you're like, that movie's kind of good. Maybe Robert Pattinson's like,
probably pretty good.
yeah, maybe he's okay. Maybe we shouldn't just be critical because he made a bunch of money in the Twilight movies, because he's actually kind of a good actor. Okay, cool, right? So the fact that Batman just kind of like hit after hit after hit after hit, he is the biggest cash cow in the world, right? In terms of IP that has made coin, it's probably Batman, right? And we could talk about individual accolades, but you know why Batman's amazing. As a kid, I had a Batman costume. I wanted to be Batman. Everyone wants to be Batman. Batman's awesome.
Batman is awesome. My only knock against Batman, because I agree with everything you're saying, my only knock is Batman's like what Wolverine is, or was, but they just milk him. And I to a point where when I stopped kind of reading a lot of DC comics, it was because it's like, here's another Batman movie or another Batman comic, and how about another Batman comic, where it's like you got DC released like 40 to 50 comics a month, and half of them were Batman or Batman adjacent, and it's like, man, you can't do this to me. Like, I love Batman. I have a Batman wallet that I used to have. Like, he's super cool. He's fascinating. He's such a neat character. Like, he's flawed, but you understand his flaws. He's doing, and like you follow his rules, and like, it's cool. But at the same time, it's like, man, you guys have built or like milked this sucker to the ground. It's like like, that's why he's in my number 3 and not my number 2. He's definitely more popular than Superman. I'm like at that point where I'm like, I feel like I'm buying low on Superman. I'm selling high on Batman, because it's like,
it's just continually. You're like, but I mean, like, oh, he has every video game. All the Batman Arkham games are awesome. If you haven't played them, go play them. You can buy the trilogies now, and like, you'd be like, oh man, these games are
and they go on sale for like $10 or whatever the heck it is. It's like, this is a good $10 to spend.
I don't know if I 100%ed Arkham Origins, but the first 2 games, I know I literally did every single thing in those games. I loved being in them. I loved being Batman. I loved flying around. I loved just that whole experience was just incredible, right? So Batman, you just do so much good stuff, right? So that's why you made it number 2.
Yeah, and like the Gotham universe, the Rogues Gallery, like the entire Batman universe is just like peak comic books. I think it's like, that's the best universe in comics is Gotham and the Batman world.
Yeah. Now for my number 1, the change I made kind of before we started talking here, we'll get to Tyson's number 1 after mine. I'm going to go first, though, because I have Miles Morales as my number 1 comic book character, and you say, pourquoi? Why? I really knew nothing about Miles Morales years ago because he didn't really exist. He's a more modern creation, and the rocket to the moon that he's been on in terms of popularity, incredible. The Spider-Man video games, Spider-Man Miles Morales, I sat and played that a couple summers ago. I'm playing through Spider-Man 2 right now on the PS5. Absolutely incredible stories. They're incredibly fun. The Spider-Verse movies, right, starring the Miles Morales character, I love them. They're amazing. I mean, I secretly hope that they never finish them, because that'd be really funny. Like, that'd be Sony just fumbling the bag hard. Like, we're going to make this epic multiverse movie and then never make a conclusion because we can't get our shit together. That's hilarious, Sony.
That is so Sony of them to Sony that up.
To Sony it up, right? But I'm like, and my biggest knock against that movie was I was like, I think it's going to be such a long time between the films that I hate it, that it hangs on a cliffhanger, and that's a shit way of telling a story. So I don't really love that. But going back and watching it, oh, it's incredible. It looks great. It's funny. It's awesome. I think Morales is, in terms of just new characters, it's something different, something I haven't seen before. Every other character you see is kind of that shade of, or that white, that pure, that paragon of good. Miles Morales kind of plays by his own rules a little bit, and I just always think he's cool. Like playing the game, you feel the story, you find out what's going on in his life, you find out what's going on in the movies. He just kind of always comes off as cool and unique, and he's a different take on superheroes that I haven't quite seen before, right? It's something fresh, original, and I'm more inclined to like grab something. I literally got a PS5 because I'm like, well, I have to find out what happens to him in this story in this video games. Like I need to know, right? So he was a driving force that like made me buy $100 video games, spend hundreds of dollars on a video game system, right? No one else did that. I didn't go to my way to buy the new Batman game or that Wolverine game's gonna be pretty cool when that one comes out. But you know, like in that same vein, where just the popularity of this character and how, I don't know, kind of cool modern take. I don't know. I'm blown away every time I get to experience more of Miles Morales. I was saying, I'm like, that's a cool character. Like if I was a kid, that's definitely the guy I would like latch on to right now. I love his suit design. I love kind of his artisticness, right? How he kind of brings kind of that little bit of street art to everything he does, right? And just kind of has that unique shine on his character. And I don't know, just a brush of, and maybe that's just the freshness of him, puts him at the top of my list.
That's fair. That's fair. I didn't have him on my list. Like, he's a cool character though. I mean, the games were good. You obviously have like, it resonates you with you a lot more. I beat the first Spider-Man or the Spider-Man game, and then I played Miles Morales, and I think I was just burnt out at that point where I was like, I played the same game for how many hours to just try to complete everything, and it's like, by that time I was like, I am so oversaturated right now.
I mean,
but don't get me wrong, it's like, it's still good. It's still like fascinating and really well done. I thought it was a little short. I was like, why is this game so short?
It is short, but it's because it's just DLC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that means that's all that's left is a guy I've already mentioned. I think he was my number 4. He's your number 1. He's the top of the list. He is.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Of course. I think I think Spider-Man's the most popular character.
Him.
Girls like him, guys like him, kids like him, adults like him. Like, everybody likes Spider-Man.
The unofficial list. I guess we didn't do our honorable mentions, but
no, and we'll run through it after we're done.
I don't have any.
I think we got.
Tyson
I think
has
we
10.
have a. I'm sorry, but yeah, we'll summarize that afterwards, and we'll run through it. Like you give me a 1 to 10, and I'll give you my 1 to 20, sure. And then we'll head out with that because but it's like. I don't want to shortchange Spider-Man. Like I didn't love the animated series. Spider-Man's a character that I thought has just always kept building momentum. Everybody loves an underdog, and it doesn't matter what the storyline. Spider-Man always seems to be the underdog and have to like come from behind and win. And it's just like narratively, he works so well. He has had so many good games, like the Spider-Man 2, the modern Spider-Man games. Like they're fantastic. They are so freaking good. And like he even had the good PlayStation games. But essentially but the original Super Nintendo games of his suck. They're terrible.
Well, but that's...
And I think so. I feel like he's just been slowly building momentum from your Tobey Maguires to like everybody kind of didn't really like Andrew Garfield, and then they kind of came back around on him, and then Tom Holland starts rolling that thing up the hill, and I think it's just like that whole Spider-Man universe is just it's the best universe currently. I think Batman's like, probably in my opinion better because I like it more, but I think Spider-Man as a whole across the comic book universe is the best one. So Sony literally having the rights to the Spider-Man universe is that last gasp of like, wow, still makes Sony like movies essentially relevant. Like if it wasn't for Spider-Man, I think Sony sells off their franchise a long time ago.
Oh, easily.
Because they just don't make any profitable movies.
Yeah.
Now they're quickly killing it, but the Miles Morales stuff is just like it's peak. It's peak. It's really good. Spider-Man has always been just an underdog, and I love him.
Yeah, so. That's a great way of putting it, is just the underdog story, right? He is we talk about the other guys. Superman. Oh, he's awesome. He's a superhero that can never die. Well, of course he should be a superhero.
Yeah.
Batman is a billionaire. Oh, okay, wow. I'm glad that he's using his money for good, not evil. What a great guy, Spider-Man. Just a teenager.
Right?
Yeah. He has
a teenager whose parents died.
It's the simplest, the cleanest message. With great power comes great responsibility, right? If you were to be given this great ability, this superhuman agility, to be able to cling onto walls, to have superhuman strength, he's incredibly smart as well, right? Resourceful. what would you do with it? What's the cost? What can you do? What can you sacrifice? Right? And time again, what is great? It's not Spider-Man isn't a great superhero. It's because Peter Parker needs to make money and pay for his rent and be a superhero, right? And that constant balance of life, and it's just the most relatable, down to earth, cleanest story that could be told time and time again. I loved the animated series. I thought it was actually better than the X-Men series in returning to it. They're complete narratives. There's parts. It's an overarching story that you get. It's an amazing rogues gallery. It's very interesting characters. It ties in with other X-Men. X-Men even show up in Spider-Man at some point, right? That's how popular they were. They were just trying to latch on to his popularity. Every movie series that's come out. I mean, maybe the Andrew Garfield one, the second one kind of fell apart. Even the first one, like, kind of crap, but it's like not bad.
It's watchable.
It's watchable.
Very watchable.
The second one, you're like, oh, they definitely had too much involvement in this. Okay, cool. Some producer wrecked this, right? And then they reset it, right? But his stories are just very genuine. They're simple. They're clean. And it kind of is what you want. If you were to be a superhero, you'd want to be the Spider-Man, right? You want to be kind of the lovable. He's quippy, he's funny, he's lovable, he has responsibilities, right? He learned great lessons. And I think it's just, yeah, in terms of popularity, he's by far and away the most popular superhero. He is just like way out in front of everyone else, and Batman and Superman and Wolverine are chilling in kind of third place or second place, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, Spider-Man, just pound for pound, is the best comic book character, right?
100%.
I have a bit more of a lean because the Spider-Verse movies are really good too. So, and not just because like animated shows are kind of good if your mind's a little altered. That's definitely not why I watch them more frequently than others. But you know, like I think just in terms of, I think like freshness. I like the Morales. He kind of is just the Spider-Man, but like he has different struggles. What if your dad was a cop? Right, and you were this masked menace. How would you deal with that? It deals with family. It deals with, it just different things. You kind of get different things. But I think in terms of pound for pound, the Spider-Men, right, as kind of Sony's just kind of equating them in the new video game. Also, it's a slog to get through. It's just the same thing. Like, I'm sneaking through a factory as Spider-Man, and then for some reason I just have to fight guards for like 25 minutes. And I was like, ugh. And the next mission is like, oh, sneak around. Oh, you have to fight guards for 20 minutes. And I was like, holy shit, this is just the same thing again and 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 again. So I've definitely paused on the Spider-Man 2 experience. But everything up until that point is fun. And like grabbing it from time to time, it's just, you can't power through it, right? So,
if you're having a bad day, just play as Spider-Man and go flinging through the place of New York City. And like, it's cool that they like those games kind of also expose people to New York City. So you can kind of almost like know New York City before even going there. Yeah,
exactly. So. Yeah, and I did that actually before we went to New York at one point. And I like tried to walk around, like get a feel for like the roads. It's not 1-to-1, so it didn't quite work. But it is funny that I tried that. So sweet. So with that wraps up our top 10 comic book list. This is definitely longer. Yeah, I guess there was more variety too, right?
Like there wasn't as much, like we each talked about many. It was probably more than 20 like things after we didn't have as much crossover as we usually do, where it's like, well, I also have that on my list.
Well, and again, I'm stumbling through. I feel like I'm not like the expert. I can't defend myself. If you came after me like, how dare you do this? I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know. Let's just do a quick recap. You can hit your honorable mentions and then we'll get out of here.
Cool. I'll go first. So obviously, number 1, Spider-Man. Number 2, Superman. Number 3, Batman. Number 4, Wolverine. Number 5, Hulk. Number 6, Harley Quinn. Number 7, Spawn. Number 8, Sonic. Number 9, Jean Grey. Number 10, Michelangelo. So that's where all the honorable mentions kind of come in, where it's like, they probably should be on my top 10 list, but I like them a lot. So number 11, Iron Man. Number 12, Wonder Woman. 13, Captain America. 14 is Supergirl / Power Girl. That one's a personal preference. 15, that's where the Joker's hanging out. Nice. 16, I got Lex Luthor. 17, Cyclops. 18, Psylocke. 19, Emma Frost. 20, Batgirl. So, kind of a list of people I like, and a lot of characters. I'm like, they should probably actually be on that top list, but
cool.
I have some biases.
Sweet, and I have all my best characters made the list. I made lots of cuts. Everyone else, get the fuck out of here. My list. I'll go 1 to 10. 1, I've got Miles Morales. 2, I've got Batman. 3, I've got Magneto. Followed by Nightcrawler at 4. Spider-Man at 5. Captain America comes in at 6. At number 7, I've got Thor. 8 sees the Crown Prince of Chaos, the Joker. I've got the ever generating Wolverine at 9, and then finally I've got Hulk Smash at 10 to start the bottom of my list. So, oh baby, fun stuff.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of, everyone's got their own personal favorite comic books characters, but there's like when you rat it through, you're like, yeah, I bet you Spider-Man, Batman, Superman,
Wolverine.
Wolverine. And I was like, yeah, Mick, that is my list.
Because you did it stupid. You sent the wall of text instead of a line, so I couldn't see everything at once.
I made it on Google Docs, so it was a 1 to 10, and then the 1 to 10 didn't carry over. I was being lazy, and I didn't want to edit things.
No, it's fine. It's just that's what happened there. So cool. So that wraps up our show. We're back. We just did a game a couple weeks ago. We're there, and then I think we do. Maybe we're playing the game of the year next 2 weeks. I don't know. We'll have to find out. There's my.
Yeah.
If you lasted this long, in 2 weeks, you might be in for a surprise. So yeah, look forward to that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Till then.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.